Well, good morning. This is Dr. John Bennett broadcasting from Miami. Today we have the pleasure of having John LaCoy. He's a resident of Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya, and he's going to be talking about his medical device um, that diagnoses malaria, which is a big killer in Africa. Hello, John. How you doing?
I'm fine indeed, Dr. Jones.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for you to come out here. So we're gonna just talk about you, your product, and this will all be recorded, and it's all live on the Medical Device Studio of InternetMedicine.com for anyone that wants to watch it.
Sure.
Okay, okay, John. Could you first tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school?
Okay, so I went to in school from Western Kenya, that is in Nyanza province, basically in Kanga High School. And I did my QCS, that is the Form 4 class, in 2004. And then I went to the university, that is at GQuat, that is Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. And thereafter, I graduated with about BSc Biotechnology option, and thereafter I returned back for the second degree, that is the same course, that is Masters in Biotechnology too. So actually now I'm working on my project at Cambridge for the same degree that I will be awarded in this year, July.
Okay, very good. So you've always been into science.
Sure indeed.
So that is your big interest. And could you tell me about how you got involved with the product, Biomeme?
Okay. So, as I was looking for my project for my studies, I went through the website. Then I found my friends who are working on the diagnostic tools, and was none other than the Biomeme Incorporation in US, that is in Philadelphia. And I found a link with them through my friend at Kenya Medical Research Institute here in Nairobi, based in Nairobi. And then we got linked up, and from there we made a talk, and then they agreed that I could do the validation of the Biomeme smartphone diagnosis at the point of care. So after therefore I wrote my concept note, and they say it was too okay, and then everything was made okay, and then we started.
Oh, okay. So did you actually get involved? You were involved with the concept of doing what you did. Were you actually involved in building it yourself, or did you have help?
Okay, mine actually is to work on the collection of the analysis of the data from the field, because the trials that have been done by Biomeme actually are in influenza. Here the first one to be done in Kenya is based on influenza disease, but generally we wanted to work on malaria, so none has done this in Kenya. So I had to do it so that it can be accepted after after successful validation at Kenya Medical Research Institute and in the fieldwork. Therefore, thereafter, it will be accepted. So that is how I came with that part. So my part is the collection of proper data, and that can help the incorporation to have a clear picture of how successful it is in the diagnosis of the malaria.
Okay. Okay, good. I guess we'll go over your PowerPoint presentation, which probably explains what you're talking about. Correct?
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great, John. We just went over how to do the PowerPoint, so let's put it up there and go through it.
Okay, thanks. Welcome.
There you go. There, it's up there.
Okay, so thanks. So on my first slide is just the name of the title of my research, that is the validation of a Biomeme smartphone-based real-time PCR for the detection of human malaria at the point of care. So there it is, just my introduction. So next I go to, okay, so this there we have the Biomeme 3. This is normally used as the case and why we put the smartphone. So here one can see I have the app there. So the app are what I call the account. We have the protocol management. We have the protocol management is just used to tell you which kind of the diagnostic protocol you want to use. For example, I want to use for the malaria. So in that protocol, I will put all the PCR conditions, whatever I need, the small notes there. So, and then if you go to the GPS, it's whereby it locates the location where you are, where I'm working on, whether I'm in the field work, I'll be able to locate wherever mine. So when you go to the data recovery, it just show me when I work on this, and then I want to know what I've collected overall or what I've collected, I'll go to there. Then the contact is for the product purchase and the contact of the office in US. So, and the support is for any question that somebody have. Okay, so the background of this, so generally malaria at present kills about, infects around 300 to 5 million people per annum. And it kills, the death rate are at 1 to 3 million people per year. And then there are those countries who have been very successful in the eliminating of malaria. So we have the United Emirates, we have Morocco, we have Tajikistan, we have Armenia, we have Kazakhstan, we have Maldives, Singapore, Europe, Central Asia, Sri Lanka, and Kyrgyzstan. So there are certain countries too which are very endemic to this. We have the China, Cambodia, Indonesia, and Thailand, Afghanistan, Brazil, and India. So the main strains or the main species of the plasmodium is the parasite that causes the malaria. So there are various plasmodium parasites that causes malaria, and these are as follows. We have Plasmodium vivax, we have Plasmodium ovale, we have Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium falciparum, and the fifth one is Plasmodium nolensis. So nolensis is the most current one that has been shown to infect the human beings. So when we came with the app or this diagnosis at the point of care, we were thinking to have what is called the telemedicine. Telemedicine is whereby I do the diagnosis at the point of care, for example, where the patient is, and I want the patient himself to do that. And after doing that, he analyzes, then as he does the same, he gives the response to whoever the physician who is on the other side. So the machine work at this, the machine is connected to the portal website. So through the clouds, the doctor can monitor and can diagnose the problem or the disease that the patient is suffering from. So mine is malaria here. So the first thing I do what is called the extraction of the DNA from the sample. My samples are normally the blood. I don't use the urine, but urine is also an option, also saliva, and other sweats from the body are also options. So here after diagnosis, then I put it in the machine. The machine here is the Biomeme case, which has 3 wells. And these 3 wells, then you insert the iPhone that is the 5 series. So the 5 series has a phone that has a software that is congregated with all the cultural disease causing pathogens, and for mine here is Plasmodium. So I will just go and click to Plasmodium. For most to be sure, I'll click Plasmodium falciparum. So then after the analysis, then it goes to the website, and then the doctor perceive it to the side and interpret the result, and then he can give me the medicine. He can prescribe for me the medicine. Then I go to the hospital, then the result the result given the truth. So I will not have to go to the clinic physically, but I will just do the diagnosis, because it is even very much easier to do the extraction of the DNA by myself. So I don't need to go to the hospital. Okay. So next. Okay, so when I was doing this, generally my first thinking was to first to compare various methods of extracting the DNA. So with the Biomeme, we had the Biomeme sample prep extraction kit. So this one you are to compare with the standard DNA, standard other protocols that are there, the Chelex method that is mostly used at Cambridge. So generally I did this, the results are on the other folder, but that was my first. So when I did this, I found that the quality of the DNA through the quantification through the nanodrop spectrophotometer, I found that the quality of the DNA was so much good, and for the analysis of the molecular, what is called the molecular DNA, was comparatively good as compared to the Chelex. So when I did all the analysis, at the end of the day, I found that the extracted DNA from the using the Biomeme extraction kit was by far better than the Chelex method, and which takes more days. For example, the Chelex method takes 2 days. If you start it from today, we'll finish tomorrow. But the Biomeme kit, it is just a matter per sample is 2 minutes and then you are done. 2 minutes you are done, because we use the syringe technology, the boom technology that was discovered by a Japanese person who was using the boom technology. So in this, that is possible, so that we do this, and as you do this, you don't come into contact with the what? With them. You don't come into contact with them. You don't come into contact with the DNA itself. So you will avoid the contamination that is normally perceived in other methods. So my next objective was to do the detection of the malaria, to do the detection of this one by using other methods that I was to do the validation dictation. So the validation dictation here, I did the what? I did, oh, sorry, we are having some noise here, please.
Okay.
Hi. Okay. Okay, so what I did, we did what is called the serial dilution. So after the serial dilutions, we analyzed our sampling. So this one we were doing in the folds of 10. So what I did first here, if maybe passing here, those are just the, okay, this is just the short summary of the extraction of the DNA, and we have the Chelex there. So this is what I did. I studied the DNA through the two methods, that is the Biomeme prep kit, and then I did the Chelex extraction. Then I was using the 18S RNA and MSP. 18S RNA is normally used for specifically the detection of the specific conserved genetic region or genomic region within all the plasmodium species that are present. So in East Africa, mostly Plasmodium falciparum is the most species that is present. And in the Western Africa, we will find the Plasmodium vivax. So generally, when I was doing this, I was using the primers which are targeting the 18S for the Plasmodium falciparum. Then I was using MSP1. This is the myrosoid surface protein 1, and this is an antigen. So it codes for a gene that help the Plasmodium parasite to survive. So after mutation, we realize this surface code help them Plasmodium parasite to survive in the host. So when we did this, or when I did this, there were various thermocycler conditions or both conditions for the MSP1 and for 18S RNA. So MSP1 was to test the recrudescence and then reinfection. So recrudescence is a time whereby you are checking whether the strain that had infected the patient was the same or not. So if it is not, if there are different species, different strains, we use the term recrudescent. But when it is in the same strain that binds the patient it was suffering, then we call that is reinfection. So that is why we use the two different genomic markers. So therefore, I did what is called the agarose. That is the uh, analysis of the amplicons by using 1.5 ethidium bromide. Then I did the voltage at 80 volts, and then for 30 minutes, then we work visualize. And then what I did next was to see whether we had the genetic diversity. So genetic diversity here in Africa has not been done so much because of the lack of resources. So I came with this and I analyzed the amplicons that have been amplified through the two genomic through uh, gene marker, that is the 18S. So ID for the 18S you can see per them. So if you see these correlations, you will find that within the 18S, that is for the Biomeme, and the next one that is there is for the what? For the Chelex. So if you look at the qualities, when you check the numbers of the strains that were gotten through the amplicons of the Biomeme were much more as compared to the strains that were gotten by the amplicon for the Chelex. So this one, the amplicons, these tree analysis diagram or the dendrograms were analyzed by using a software within the machine. So we could establish whether there are several strains of Plasmodium that are concurrently in East Africa after mutation has undergone. So because of exposure to various anti-malarial drugs, various strains of the malaria come up due to adaptation. So I was to compare, is there a case whereby our patients are being bitten by the mosquito and the Malaria plasmodium parasite have been mutated. So that is what I saw. So in this case, you can see there are several strains that are come up, and this one clearly shows that as we are inventing various medicine for the prevention or for the cure of the malaria disease, it is possible it will be very hard because malaria the parasites keep on changing depending to the environment and depending to the what, to the genomic condition that are in occur. So next there, oh, sorry, next I went to analysis of the strain using the MSP. So the MSP, you could check there for the Bowman. So this, the one in front of you here is extraction of the DNA, and I did the application. So this application, after it was done, I used what is called the multiple dendrogram analysis. So the multiple dendrogram analysis showed that from the Bowman, there were numbers of strains of the plasmodium strains that have come out due to what? Due to exposure to what I'd call just to various antimalarial tablets that are present or vaccines that are present in the market. So as the pharmaceutical industries are coming out with new drugs, actually it will be very hard in future, and a good analysis should be done with this modern healthcare points for to make sure that what they're diagnosing for or what they are treating actually is based for that. So it will be very good if we do further analysis in the field for future if we are to treat this. So thereafter, I did the analysis for the same on my MSP1 using the Chelex amplicon. So you can analyze and see that the numbers of strains here are very less. So if you are to use the molecular DNA, it is very obvious from this point of view that the Biomeme Chelex, the Biomeme extraction kit has a very good DNA quality. So as this quality affect the application, so application of our DNA or the analysis of your DNA sample also will depend much or more of the extraction method. So if you analyze this, as you see this, the analysis shows that there are more strains of of the Plasmodium parasite in the Biomeme as compared to the strains that were shown in the what? That were shown by the Chelex. So Asan can just go back. So you see, in the Biomeme, there were more as compared to the Chelex. So this one just show us that the Biomeme extraction kit is having very good application results. Okay, next there, I want to check whether there was recrudescence or infection. So these tips, okay, these are called the lane profile graphs. So the lane profile graphs are not mostly used for checking what I call the dominant strains and then those strains which are not dominant. So for example, here you can see in this first, there is the Biomeme amplicon using the MSP. So you can see in the Biomeme, I have 3 peaks, which means there were 3 strains of the Plasmodium falciparum that were commonly dominant. So the higher the peak, the more the what? The more the quantitative analysis, which means it was much predominant than others. If you count the Chelex, we can only see 2 peaks. So these 2 peaks, it means from the analysis of the amplicon, it showed that there were only 2 dominant what? Strains. At the end, at the bottom, you can see small peaks there, small peaks. That means there were also some strains that were not very much predominant in this. So generally, the most one that were shown that there were 2 strains according to the Chelex, but the Biomeme showed that there were 3. So at the end of the day, if we were to analyze, if you had to have molecular DNA there, the method of the DNA extraction is very crucial point. So here, as you see, the Biomeme are proved that they are very good amplicons that can show that the predominant or the dominant strains of the Plasmodium that are present, there were 3. So thereafter, we went to to the to the point of the thing is that we were checking what is called the horizontal gene transfer, and the next thing we were thinking of is called the antigenetic shift and the reassortment. So I was thinking, what are the possible causes of the strain, or what is the possible causes of the rise up of the what, or the rise up of the new strains of the Plasmodium? So here I want to check the horizontal. So the horizontal here comes due to what? There were several mechanisms that were brought up. The first one we were to check is the climatic having a predisposing effect on this. So we analyzed that due to the glaciation process. The glaciation process cause what is colding or warming of the global. So in the month on the polar side is much colder as compared to the tropicals. So in the tropicals, that those strains of them, that those species of the Plasmodium that will be there. So next is what is called the increment in the population. So of course, for this gene to work from one level to another, or due to okay, for one to jump from one person to another, it depends with the number of the people. So the more the number of the people in affected area, the more of the what? The more of the effect on the gene flow. So we were checking within the gene flow, is there the strain also that are going to affect? And within the strain, we were to check what is the predominance. So that is what I had shown you on the previous slide. So what is another possible mechanism of this gene flow? We realized that there is also rapid and proliferation of the highly anthromophilic Anopheles. So Anopheles is that female mosquito that act as the host of this of the Plasmodium parasite. So that those kind of the strains of the Plasmodium parasites which are highly anthrophomolic, and then they promote the high what? The high gene flow that happens within from one region to another. So the possible of this is that it helps us to understand the interaction between them parasite and the genotype, the genotype and the phenotypic value. So when we look onto the Plasmodium, no, when we look onto the Anopheles mosquito, that is the female mosquito, through its phenotypic that is there, through them, physical characters, can that one also affect the what, the genomic characters? So that is the possible also what I'd call the gene flow. So that is what we learn upon there. So also from my tree diagram or from my dendrograms there, I could also possible learn what is called the genetics or the evolutionary trends that had occurred. So we realize that when we are analyzing, those are analyzing the drug resistance here in the same lab here, that those are working on the culture lab. They are working on analysis of the resistance of the plasmodium parasite to the present vaccines that are in the market. And we could analyze through these dendrograms, and we could see how are they correlated. These ratios of the dendrograms shows how one is related to another. So the closer they are, the possible mechanism when we are doing pharmacogenomics, we have to analyze and see which strain is related to one another. So in the due course of the development of the new medicine or new vaccines for elimination of malaria, there is a need to have analysis of the evolutionary trend that has happened in this. So possible causes of the hijinking is whereby gene hijinking is whereby we want to see the possible of the mutation and the neutrals. The neutrals is whereby we have in the environment which is not predisposed to the malaria causal anopheles, and to the another environment that is full of these which have been predisposed to the what, those people have been predisposed to the malaria strains parasite. So then I see this through the gene frequency, that is the selection between the linkages of the gene. There is also what is called there is a possibility of the promiscuity of the chromosomes. So this will allow selection process to undergo. So the betterly selected one, or what is called the natural selection, will take place. So that is why we came to a point of the mechanism, the highly anthromophilic anopheles. So those who have gone, those who have a close promiscuity of the chromosomes will have what? Will have a higher prolific diversion, and therefore they will survive well, and that will be that. So another thing that was to cause the hijinking is what is called the linkage disequilibrium. So the linkage disequilibrium is where that is the tendency of the recombinants within the what? The strains of the plasmodium parasites that are present. So through my dendrogram analysis, when we check thereafter, when we check through them, we realize that some were closely tied to one another, while others were furtherly not close to one another. So this one, to show you, is to determine which recombinant had taken place. So we can therefore trace the origin of this. So that is the possible thing that I can just tell you and show that this smartphone DNA-based real-time PCR is very good for the analysis of this in the field, and it's so much economic so that if you go to the, if you can go back to the normal conventional PCR that are present in the lab, it will take more time and more time. So they just the methodology of extraction of this, and this one I was doing the real time. So I also compared through the real time process, and this one we did a comparison between the Biomeme and the Chelex Amplicon. So when you we analyze this, that is the control, that is the 3D, that is the positive control that is normally used in the analysis of the analysis of the diagnosis at our lab as the one that has not undergone any mutation here. So we see that upper C in the Biomeme case, you realize that then the melting point came much earlier as compared to the Chelex, which means this is a very economical method when you are working with the amplicons or the DNA extracted from the Biomeme platform as compared to the chelate. So I was doing that and I realized that the Biomeme is giving smarter curves, okay, the amplification curves that are at much lower lower circles, which means the quality of the DNA present here and the quantity also determines that analysis, and it shows that in this case we analyze that it came from much far earlier. So it means that in these two comparisons, when you are comparing the two, the AB and the Biomeme kit or the Biomeme real-time extraction platform, it is so much further because it only takes about 45 minutes and then you are done, as compared to this our AB or our apply bio system. It takes more time, that is like 1 hour to get the result or 2 hours depending to the number or depending to the thermocycler conditions. So the challenges that we met in this study, it was the optimization of the two genes was a bit hard, and then I was to come with this also. Now we have to do further, if somebody was to come here, is to do further analysis of these strains that I've just shown in my dendrograms. So I want with somebody to come with other molecular markers and come up and show us which kind of these strains are now present. So I've just shown you in the dendrograms the numbers that are there. So we have to come up with a method whereby somebody has to come up and tell us which strain is possible present and now. So also we have to analyze the one that is predominant and the one that, and why it is predominant over the others. Why is one surviving better than the other? So those are things. So the main, what I've got, the main learning here is 18S gene marker isn't sufficient for strain analysis. As you showed at the side, it is that it has very few numbers of strains that were present on the dendrogram, while the MSP was good because it shows the recrudescence and the same time it shows reinfection. So another thing in the summary also is that the DNA extraction and led to excellent molecular DNA supersede the result that were gotten through the Biomeme kit, and the Biomeme real-time extraction method was much far excellent. So another thing is that dendrograms are very good analysis, are very good for analysis of the phylogenetic relationship. Therefore, through the construction of these tree diagrams, they can show us how the strains or how the genetic resistance that has come up with this development of the new drugs that are not working in Africa. So we need to have a good analysis in future. So that one, I can just say that is what I had for you on the other side. Hello.
Yeah, excellent presentation. John,
Thanks.
can you get off the screen share? Just click on the green arrow. That'll take you off so I can ask you a few questions.
Okay. Just a minute.
Very, excellent presentation, and you really have that well put together. And how far along is the product as far as development of marketing? Is it being sold now, or is it still in development, or what's the stage of the status of the device?
Okay, right now I'm just on the final stage of gathering all that analysis. So generally at this point, after the preview within the Kenya Medical Research Institute, then I will go and defend it through what is called the scientific ethical review unit. Then after the acceptance of it, then it will be getting a nod in Kenyan market. So it will be a very good diagnostic method that will be very good for the remote places that does not have the complicated PCR machines without electricity.
So it's still under development, and you can't estimate when it's going to actually be used. But
no, generally, in 1 month, at the end of this month, I will be done with the the lab work. So I'm just doing analysis. Then I will present it in 2 months' time to the board.
Well, John, I'll tell you a little story about malaria in Africa. Something that
Yeah,
surprised me. I'm like most physicians in the
yeah,
United States. I really don't know what's going on in Africa. No, but I was able to interact with a nurse from Livingston, Zambia, which is
yeah,
in deep, deep Africa. It's named
yeah,
Livingston because of Livingston, I presume, Stanley and Livingston, and right in the heart of Africa. And he was a nurse at a clinic there, and
yeah,
I had a few discussions with him about how the clinic is structured, and we did some talks on the internet about how his practice goes, what he does at the clinic, the equipment he has, is the help he's getting from other countries. And I asked him, "What's the biggest killer at your clinic?" And he said, "Malaria." And
yeah, indeed.
that surprised me, and I'm sure it's the same in Kenya too. It's a big killer
Yeah,
of patients. It's still. So there's a lot of work to be done. Uh,
yeah,
and, and an addendum to this story, John,
yeah.
is that I knew of a programs they're called MASEPA. I don't know if you've heard of those MASEPA programs for malaria in Africa. Are you familiar with that program?
No, no, in our lab here it hasn't been done. So generally, maybe in Kenya Medical Research Institute have like 4 bases. We have one in Nairobi, we have one in Kisumu in the Lakeshore, we have one at Mombasa at the coast, we have one in Busia. So various ones are targeted. So at Nairobi base, we don't have those methods being applied.
Right. Well, I don't know if it's a national program or a local one to Zambia, but it's a program where lab workers will go to the village, will draw the blood, mostly from youngsters, kids, because there's a high mortality amongst kids for malaria. They'll draw the blood and they'll give the child medicine on the spot, and it's all for free. So there are programs there that he didn't even know about. So there's a lot of countries that have programs and doing a lot of work in regarding malaria. But I know it's a serious health problem. Number one killer at his clinic. So obviously it's a very serious illness. In the United States, it's more heart disease, cancer, lifestyle type of diseases, but in Africa, it's still
Sure.
infectious disease. So the work you're doing is valuable work
Thanks.
against the number one killer in Africa, malaria.
Yeah, indeed.
So we appreciate your talk, and this is all recorded. It's all live.
Okay,
And we'll talk after I stop recording, and we'll try to set up some more talks because what you're doing is great work, and
okay,
I'd really like to get you on with some infectious disease specialists. They may have some pointed questions as far as the science of what you're doing, as
yeah,
well as some geneticists. But hopefully, we'll have more interviews.
yeah,
So
indeed.
let me officially end this. Don't leave yet, John. I want to talk to you after I shut the camera off. So good
Okay,
day, everybody.
okay, then.